This is Jody Luke, and this is my video recording for my reflection assignment for the end of my practicum. So I want to start by saying that I had so much fun. I learned so much from my mentor teachers, and I'm just very excited to start the student teaching come August. I feel like this was a great way to prepare me for this. So let's go ahead and get started. Number one, reflection on learning targets. For both grades, I tried to write the learning targets with language and words that the students will understand. And for second grade, my learning targets, they did align with my formative assessments because they really encouraged the students to discuss the pieces of text. My formative assessments were discussions during and at the end of reading the book, and this really helped me hear how students are understanding that, and that really aligned with my learning target. And the learning target example is I can discuss informational books. So yes, it definitely does align with the learning target because this is exactly what we did. For fifth grade, my example of the learning target is I can graph data given in ordered pairs onto a coordinate grid. And again, I tried to use fifth grade appropriate words, language, so they can understand that. And I believe it did align with my formative assessment. Because the students completed a guided practice that allowed them to do exactly as the learning target said, in which this case they were able to graph data given in ordered pairs onto a coordinate grid, and that's exactly what they did. And then each grade, they did have planned curriculum across the grade level, and it did include the learning targets and the activities to complete, which aligns with the standards. Personal understanding. So designing and teaching the lesson plans based on the standards really helped me understand how to teach different concepts. For example, in second grade reading, I added real-world discussions to help students understand and retain the information. And for example, we read Never Smile at a Monkey, and students have the following week and the same week, they have been completing interactive writing about an animal. So they were able to do research, and they're writing an informational paper, which aligned very well with the curriculum for that and the book that I got to read. I read Never Smile at a Monkey in the first lesson, and I opened that up with, who's ever been to a zoo? And that just immediately caught their attention. And there were so many hands that were so eager to just get involved with the discussion. And they were just so excited to start reading, and they wanted to see if their animal that they've been writing about was in the book. It was just a great opener that really caught their attention. And they made connections during the summarizing discussion to the zoo and the book. Number two, evaluation of activities. Okay, so I wanted to choose activities that were really fun. That was kind of hard to do with the second grade because what I was supposed to do was pretty straightforward. Interactive reading, read the book, discussion. It was hard to do activities, but I did the best I could, which is what I said about, making connections to the zoo. But for fifth grade, one activity that comes in mind is the relay race. And since it was a race, it was a competition for the students to win something, it really helped them. They really wanted to learn. They really tried hard to figure out the questions, the concepts, which was finding the numerical pattern in a table. And as I observed, I noticed the students really analyzing and thinking about the question, and double checking themselves. And as far as class participation, yes, so the class participation was great with the relay race. Everyone was very excited and eager to start. There were some students that got stuck on a question, or maybe they rushed through it and missed it, but I did ask them to keep their card with the question on it, and we went over the questions that they may have missed or needed help on. And then once I did that and helped them really understand it, I did observe students really become more confident in answering those questions. Number 3, assessment and feedback. Okay, so for 2nd grade, like I mentioned, it was difficult to really get a summative assessment. So I did do a formative assessment, which is just a summarizing discussion, and then so I read the book on day 1, and then day 2 we read it again. So I did do a before text summative discussion as well on day 2, just to make sure they remember everything that we read yesterday and get them, just fix that memory, just pop it back up in their memory. So the post-reading summarized discussion for 2nd grade, it's a great way to observe and understand where students are at with the text, where they may be struggling. The only downfall of this for the 2nd graders is that I may not hear from each student. But we will get to the improvement in just a second. And my assessment methods for 5th grade involve the independent practice worksheets, which is pretty straightforward. We do activity and the work session together, and then they go through and they do this independent practice, and then I can check and make sure and see if there's any struggling or needing extra help, or if they've got it. So my feedback, both of my mentor teachers, they noted strengths and something that I can improve on. One in particular, my 5th grade mentor teacher, she noted that I should try to work on allowing more time for students to do small group or independent work, which I agree with. This was my very first time in a classroom, so I was a little nervous. My time management was not as good as I wanted it to be, but that's where experience comes in, of course. So I'm going to work on that. I did work on that in 2nd grade. I took that feedback and made sure I had ample time to really just get what I needed to do done, and I did. Alright, so number 4, suggestions for improvement, lesson content. Okay, so 2nd grade. You may remember my very first reading lesson, I tried to do a turn and talk with them, but they struggled. And after that, my mentor teacher did talk to me and tell me that this is something they struggle with because of the amount of differentiated learners. There are many ELL students, a few have autism and ADHD, and turn and talk, she said, has been difficult for them for the year. They froze and they weren't sure what to do. There were a few students that modeled this, but I did I did stay away from that for the rest of my lessons. My mentor teacher did recommend that, but if I had more time in the class, I would work on that with them, and I would go ahead and give them pre-assigned turn and talk partners, so they would already know that. I know some of them, it kind of took them by surprise. Fifth grade math, I put that it was a bit intimidating for me. The curriculum was set up where it was hard for me as a student teacher to see the curriculum and navigate and gain access to it because it is all online. And this put me in the place where I felt like I could have been more prepared, but it is a learning experience, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. Activity adjustments. And I did mention that for the second grade turn and talk, I would go ahead and pre-assign partners. For fifth grade, I want to allow more table discussions during the guided practices to make sure the engagement is ample the whole time. I know some of them started wandering off because they were getting a little bored, and I understand that, so that's something I can improve on as well. Assessment changes. In the future, I want to include summative assessments instead of all formative assessments. If I could do the experience again, I would add a quick check at the end of my fifth grade lesson, and the quick check is a little 5-question quiz that the students do at the end of their lesson, and it just kind of checks their understanding, lets them know if they need extra practice. If I had time, that's something I wanted to do. And so that's why I mentioned time management is something that I need to work on, but that comes with experience. And then the end of second grade lessons, I would want to implement AR quizzes on their books, and that would really help me see who was understanding the books and who was struggling. And then number 5, personal insights, connections to broader experiences. Okay, so my second grade mentor teacher was amazing. She took me through the whole thing about what they do in the school with differentiated learning, and this was amazing. It really prepared me for clinicals in August. She explained how interventions and small groups work. She explained how Rabun County Primary School decides on which students may need that additional support. I was able to sit in a grade level meeting, which allowed me to see and watch firsthand the teachers work together and how they create that curriculum across the grade level, so they're all on the same page, and that was a great experience. And this was great. I had the opportunity to observe the ESOL mentor each day. The ESOL mentor came in every day during writing and phonics to help the ELL students. This was great because I got to see exactly how she works with them and how she speaks to them, and that was just a great experience to help me in my future classroom, and I'm excited to help these students. And finally, impact on future learning. My practicum experience really helped shape how I plan lessons, because it provided me with that experience with differentiated learning, which is so crucial and so beneficial for me. It opened a new perspective of teaching through observing and implementing strategies that met all the diverse academic and behavioral needs of the students. And I really learned how to tailor that instruction to support the different learning styles and use formative assessments to guide what I need to teach. And I've done that in my other classes, but just not in real life. And it's opened a new perspective on how to do that. These experiences, sorry about that. My son came in with a skint knee, but, and these experiences that I had making lesson plans, they really made me feel more confident about creating the lesson plans that are engaging and were inclusive for the students' needs. An example would be pausing to explain the vocabulary that may be unfamiliar and making connections to the real world, especially for those students that need differentiated learning. So to summarize, this was an amazing learning experience, and I'm very much ready for clinicals in August. So thank you so much.